Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Welcome to Tuesday. Here it is. We're basically halfway through the month of August. It is the 15th. I'd like to say a happy birthday to my beloved wife, Pam.
Oh, happy birthday, Pam.
Yeah.
That's fun.
And but a sad day on another occasion. For what we're turning into. In fact, we're giving banana republics a good name.
Yeah. Welcome to Trump TV this morning.
Yeah, boy.
There is a lot to go through this morning with this indictment coming out from Fulton County, Fannie Willis. The one of these DAs that probably needs to be fired.
Yeah, immediately, if not sooner. This was just absolutely a disgrace. When was the last time you remember a press conference held around midnight? But we
Having a hard
had
time
one.
with that.
Yeah. And Alan Dershowitz, no fan of Donald Trump, says we're seeing the rule of law thrown away for partisan political purposes. And also, speaking to Fox News Digital exclusively, the former president told Fox News it comes during a dark period of our country, but vowed to win the 2024 presidential election and make America great again.
That sounds exactly like Donald Trump.
Yeah, it does.
Well, and, she did have this press conference last night, midnight, and this is what she had to say.
Yeah, this is the Soros elected DA.
Thank you for joining us. I'm here with the prosecutors and investigators who have worked diligently on the investigation of criminal attempts to interfere in the administration of Georgia's 2020 presidential election. Today, based on information developed by that investigation, a Fulton County grand jury returned a true bill of indictment, charging 19 individuals with violations of Georgia law arising from a criminal conspiracy to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election in this state. The indictment includes 41 felony counts and is 97 pages long. Please remember that everyone charged in this bill of indictment is presumed innocent. Specifically, the indictment brings felony charges against Donald John Trump, Rudolph William Louis Giuliani, John Charles Eastman, Mark Randall Meadows, John Cheeseborough, Jeffrey Clark, Jenna Lynn Ellis, Ray Stallings Smith III, Robert David Cheeley, Michael A. Roman, David James Schaefer, Sean Micah Tresher Steele, Stephen Cliffgard Lee, Harrison William Prescott Floyd, Travion C. Cootie, Sydney Catherine Powell, Kathleen Austin Latham, Scott Graham Hall, and Misty Hampton, also known as Emily Misty Hayes. Every individual charged in the indictment is charged with one count of violating Georgia's Racketeer, Influenced, and Corrupt Organizations Act through participation in a criminal enterprise in Fulton County, Georgia, and elsewhere to accomplish the illegal goal of allowing Donald J. Trump to seize the presidential term of office beginning on January 20th, 21. Specifically, the participants in association took various actions in Georgia and elsewhere to block the counting of the votes of the presidential electors who were certified as the winners of Georgia's 2020 general election. As you examine the indictment, you will see acts that are identified as overt acts and those that are identified as predicate acts, sometimes called acts of racketeering activity. Overt acts are not necessarily crimes under Georgia law in isolation, but are alleged to be acts taken in furtherance of the conspiracy. Many occurred in Georgia, and some occurred in other jurisdictions and are included because the grand jury believes they were part of the illegal effort to overturn the results of Georgia's 2020 presidential election. The acts identified as predicate acts or acts of racketeering activity are crimes that are alleged to have been committed in furtherance of the criminal enterprise. Acts of racketeering activity are also charged as separate counts in the indictment against those who are alleged to have committed them. All elections in our nation are administered by the states, which are given the responsibility of ensuring a fair process and an accurate counting of the votes. That includes elections for presidential electors, Congress, state officials, and local offices. The state's role in this process is essential to the functioning of our democracy. Georgia, like every state, has laws that allow those who believe that results of an election are wrong, whether because of intentional wrongdoing or unintentional error, to challenge those results in our state courts. The indictment alleges that rather than abide by Georgia's legal process for election challenges, the defendants engaged in a criminal racketeering enterprise to overturn Georgia's presidential election result. Subsequent to the indictment, as is the normal process in Georgia law, the grand jury issued arrest warrants for those who are charged. I am giving the defendants the opportunity to voluntarily surrender no later than noon on Friday, the 25th day of August, 2023. I remind everyone here that an indictment is only a series of allegations based on a grand jury's determination of probable cause to support the charges. It is now the duty of my office to prove these charges in the indictment beyond a reasonable doubt at trial. I would like to take a moment to thank the Superior Court Clerk, Shay Alexander, and her staff for staying late and making sure that this indictment was processed. I would also like to thank the men and women of Sheriff Labatt's office for keeping the courthouse open, but most importantly for keeping us safe over the weeks and months that have led up to this indictment, and for what I know they will continue to do to keep us safe. We also want to thank the Atlanta Police Department and other law enforcement partners who have worked with the sheriff to keep us safe. I will now take a very limited number of questions prior to going to sleep.
Madam District Attorney.
If you don't mind, Savannah 11 to 11 alive. Quick question: can you clarify in Georgia the mandatory minimum when it comes to RICO charges, whether it's servable by probation or how that might play out?
The RICO charges has time that you have to serve, so it is not a probated sentence.
Madam District Attorney, what's the timetable for the trial?
What is the timetable for the trial?
Yes.
As you know, in this jurisdiction, trials are set by the judges. And so it will be the judge that sets the date of the trial. This office will be submitting a proposed scheduling order within this week. However, that will totally be at the discretion of the judge.
And you want to be you're the fourth jurisdiction now to indict Donald Trump. Would you be the fourth one to try him, or could you move it up? Do you want to be the first to try him?
I don't have any desire to be first or last. I want to try him and be respectful for our sovereign states. We do want to move this case along, and so we will be asking for a proposed order that occurs a trial date within the next 6 months.
Madam District Attorney, there was earlier today President Donald Trump, that fictitious document matched exactly the charges that we now see in this indictment. Can you tell us more about that document leak? Because now you have the former president's lawyers who are saying this is emblematic of a serious problem with your office.
No, I can't tell you anything about what you refer to. What I can tell you is that we had a grand jury here in Fulton County. They deliberated till almost 8 o'clock, if not right after 8 o'clock. An indictment was returned. It was true billed, and you now have an indictment. I am not an expert on clerks' duties or even administrative duties. I wouldn't know how to work that system, and so I'm not going to speculate. Next question.
Have you had any contact with this special counsel about overlap between these cases, and do you intend to try all of these defendants together?
Do I intend to try the 19 defendants in this indictment together? Yes.
And have you had any contact with the special counsel about the overlap between this indictment and the federal indictment?
I'm not going to discuss our investigation at this time. I'm going to take.
What do you make of the arguments made by former President Trump that this is a politically motivated indictment?
I make decisions in this office based on the facts and the law. The law is completely nonpartisan. That's how decisions are made in every case. To date, this office has indicted, since I've been sitting as a district attorney, over 12,000 cases. This is the 11th RICO indictment. We followed the same process. We look at the facts, we look at the law, and we bring charges.
Now, after the conversation, the president wants to surrender.
Will you try this case yourself?
Has the jury been cleared?
Sit down.
So she doesn't know anything about how to do all this stuff. What do you mean she didn't know anything about it? And what is the RICO statutes are just pathetic. This is racketeering. What does racketeering have to do with anything?
I mean, the charges are actually kind of ridiculous.
They are.
I have them right here. I mean, the fact that it's, violation of oath by public officer, felony. Conspiracy to commit impersonating a public officer, felony. How are they impersonating an officer?
The president asked a question. He didn't say get me. He said, see if you can find the votes. Okay. He didn't say go find the votes. He was asking that. He was just asking a question. First Amendment rights. When was the last time you remember a Democrat not questioning an election that a Republican won?
Right. Well, and you also have false statements and writings. I'm sorry. So that's freedom of speech, is it not?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not really sure how they're going to make this stick.
And how did Reuters get a copy of this and post it on the website?
Well,
hours before the grand jury was supposedly finished with their work.
So what I heard is that Reuters actually they deal in legal documents, and so the guess is that someone was refreshing the page, and all of a sudden it showed up on the website.
And then they tried to say it was false.
Yes.
But when we looked at the false one and we looked at the real one, they were eerily similar.
Interesting how that works. So Steve Stanton's with us this morning. He says, so disappointed in Georgia and Kemp. Lizzie Warren says she's got a lot of fodder to indict Stacey Abrams, who went all over the national media declaring she won the governor's race, refused to concede, and sowed much discontent across Georgia.
Exactly.
Steve Stanton also says, I regret supporting Kemp Carter for the last 8 years. I wish Kemp could run again. I hope Carter gets primaried. They are setting by and doing nothing while our state goes to hell. And then Lizzie Warren says, the process is the punishment. It absolutely is. And here's the other thing. So David Schaefer also listed there. David Schaefer was the former chairman of the Republican Party. He is a very nice human being. And this is a horrible thing that's happening to him. And I know that they've set up a fund to help raise money for his attorney fees, because this is going to get pricey. It's going to get costly. But these people deserve to be defended. And
they got to do all 19 at once? No. Not possible. And she said she wants to do it within the next 6 months. Not possible.
Wonder why.
Yeah.
I wonder why 6 months.
Yeah, really. I mean, we're talking about 3 years. Yeah, they've had 3 years.
What could be happening in the next 6 months? I don't know.
Primaries?
Exactly. They're trying to do all they can to, number one, take away any funding from Trump, so making sure that he is wasting his money on attorney fees and legal fees. The other thing is making sure that he is limited on the time he can spend in places and doing campaigning.
Yeah, because he will have 8 appearances before judges before the primaries or during the primaries. 8 appearances in court.
Yeah.
This stinks to the high heavens. And the RICO, by the way, is a federal statute.
Yes, I believe the interesting thing is that Mayor Giuliani actually used this for the mobsters up in New York at one time. So
isn't that
very
interesting? Yeah, maybe Kanye West can help finance all of this because one of his people was indicted. You can't make this stuff up. Yeah.
It's wild, and this is happening in a Republican state, and I can't believe it. And they also passed that law that they would have oversight over these DAs, and I'm wondering when that will happen.
For sure. Yeah.
When we get back, we'll be talking more about the Trump indictments.
Yeah, we'll get Newt Gingrich's reaction, among others, coming up.
She trains at 6 a.m. every morning. She spent years working to shave off seconds. She's the captain of her school's team. He's just a mid-pack finisher. But not today. Unfortunately, this competition was over before it even began.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard this morning.
Yes, and sad day for Georgia. I think sad day for the nation.
Exactly.
I think this is the 4th indictment, and I think we're up to 72 or 79 charges. I can't keep count. Though.
Yeah, really. And the whole purpose, of course, is just to discourage the voters. They're not going to arrest this guy. What, are you going to have the Secret Service sit in the cell with him?
It could get interesting. I mean, I'm not really sure what the end game is here, but
end game is to keep him out of office.
Well, of course, but
discourage enough people.
Well, and I also think they're creating that fear, right? I think that's their biggest weapon is creating fear within Republicans, because I think that, even speaking to other people out and about, they don't necessarily want to get involved because they don't want to be publicly Republican, because it's people will come after you. There's a lot of risk involved. Your employer, other people. It's just wrong.
And the sad thing is, Brittany, is that a lot of this stuff is working. I had a talk to a good friend of mine, guy that I have a lot of respect for just recently, and I don't know how the subject got around to politics. He said, I just couldn't vote for Herschel Walker. And I said, so you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. So you've given us Raphael Warnock.
What did he say to that?
And he said, well, I just couldn't, he said, well, I just couldn't bring myself to, okay, well, all right, you can sink on your convictions.
Well, you sold us down the road, so thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the other thing. I being involved in the Republican Party sometimes is interesting because there are different fractions of the Republican Party, but they act like we're worlds apart on all of these issues. We really aren't. There may be a few issues that we disagree on, and maybe different ways we want to go about things. But for the most part, we agree on things, but they act like we're enemies within the Republican Party.
And
we're not.
Yeah. And what was Ronald Reagan's famous remark about just because your 80% friend is not your 20% enemy?
Exactly. And, you know, it's just interesting, like how much Republicans actually do argue about stuff that I just don't understand. Like, why are we arguing about this? This is
well, that's the reason the Democrats are in control, or if they're not, they act like they are.
Well, that's the other thing. They'll vote for the candidate. They will vote. They will go into that poll. If there's a D by their name, they're going to vote for that person.
Exactly.
We now have people saying, if Trump is the candidate, I'm not voting.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Hand the country over to these crazy people. I mean, that's what you're going to do.
Yeah. Look what a great job they're doing as right now. You want it to get worse? Well,
and I think we're going through. I don't know if there's a morality test or what it is with people that won't vote for Trump, and whether he is or isn't the nominee. What's happening to him is wrong. And if Republicans don't stick together for the rule of law, regardless of how they feel about Trump, we're going to be in some real trouble.
He's the guy standing up for us, the little guy. If they, as the old saying goes, if they can do this to me, what can they do to you? And what is the current occupant of the White House saying about what's going on in Maui right now? Do you think Donald Trump would have left these people high and dry and burned out?
I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in Hawaii at some point.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I honestly see that coming from Trump. Okay, Lizzie Warren, she's active today, and she says, my favorite website is Chatham County Case Search. Enlightening. So enlightening. Mm-hmm. Not voting for Herschel Walker was voting for Warnock.
Yep.
Agree there. Do voters really believe the negative ads put by someone's opponent? I actually really dislike the negative ads. For me, it's a turnoff. I'm like, if you don't have anything good to say about what you're going to do, you're so focused on the other person, like, I'm not really interested.
Exactly.
And then Lizzie Warren, you hit it right on the head. Purity test, and Democrats exempt their candidates from the purity test. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, they don't even have to speak properly. Obviously, we have Fetterman, we have Biden, we have Kamala Harris, which I'm not really sure what happened to her. She used to be articulate. Uh-huh. I mean, she wasn't great, but she was at least articulate. Now you have no idea what she talks in a big circle.
And we have Dianne Feinstein.
Here's the thing. Well, and Nancy Pelosi, they are all too old to be representing the majority of the country. I believe the average age in this country is like 47, I believe. Yeah.
Here's the interesting statistic. If you took everybody who was the age of 70 and over out of Congress right now, mm-hmm. you would take out 70% of the Congress.
That is a huge problem, people. Huge problem. We need to get better candidates in there, and we need to get younger candidates that understand different things.
Somebody who's actually darkened the door of a civics class.
That's going to be hard to find in younger generations, if I'm being honest. But I do think people that understand technology, people that understand kind of I think that there's just a disconnect when you get to a certain age with what's happening and how quickly it's happening. And also, I think, when you've been in there for 30, 40, 50 years, man, you're bought and paid for by someone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We've got, as Will Rogers once said, we got the best politicians money can buy.
Yes. Well, and
things ain't changed much.
No. Well, and one of the people that I've been really disappointed with is the AG, the former AG of Georgia, who I don't know what his deal is, but man, he does not like Trump.
This feels different. You know what? Donald Trump did his most damage in Georgia. He sucked the soul out of the Republican Party here. He's sucked the morality out of the Republican Party, the fiscal responsibility out of the Republican Party. He sucked our winning percentage out of the Republican Party. He's taken everything from us, and it is our turn to take it back, right? It's our turn to win elections based on the policies that we think we're better on. This is the prime spot for us to take Joe Biden to the woodshed and call him out for not running the border right, not protecting our communities, not putting our best foot forward internationally. These are our moments in time. But if we make this about the three-ring circus of Donald Trump, we will lose, and lose again.
You make a good point that...
And
That's the former lieutenant governor.
Yeah, I
Who
apologize.
did not run for re-election, and I liked that guy a lot when he was running. I thought, boy, he's really going to be something. And all of a sudden, every time I turned around, he was criticizing Trump for something, and when he was on with Good Morning America, not Good Morning America, he was on CBS This Morning, and and was saying, when they were talking about when the election thing first came up and all this was going on, and he said, no, everything's going to be fine. Joe Biden's going to be sworn in as president of the United States, and everything will just be hunky-dory. I said, God, Jeff, what happened to you? Did you fall and hit your head somewhere?
Well, not only that, he walked into the voting booth and was very public about the fact that he just couldn't vote for Herschel Walker.
Yeah. So you voted for Raphael Warnock.
Well, it's very disappointing. And, I'm not really sure where our Republicans are at. They're awfully quiet about this issue right now.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen a whole lot from any of them. Lizzie Warren says that Duncan didn't run for re-election because he knew no one was voting for him.
Yeah.
You're probably right there. And
Yeah.
Good point, Bill. They all lie.
Mm-hmm.
So.
For sure. Our former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, another good Georgia boy, he's on our side. And he had some great remarks last night when he was talking to Sean Hannity, among others, on the Fox News channel.
Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich. Mr. Speaker, I'm getting into this moment of time here, and I think Ted Cruz at the start of this hour really honed in on your area of expertise. You are a former professor, and you are a historian by trade, not a politician, because I know you so well. And when you think of the history of this great republic, and this has never happened, let alone one time, but now this is the fourth time to a former president, and also the chief rival, the leading rival, opposition rival to the current president that's running for re-election. It does add a lot of historical significance here. Your reaction to that part of it?
Well, look, I think what you're seeing tonight is one tree in a forest. And I think we are drifting towards the greatest constitutional crisis since the 1850s and the rise of secession and the Civil War. I don't mean that as hyperbole. If you read Andy McCarthy's remarkable book, Ball of Collusion, which came out in 2019, he makes very clear that it is Barack Obama who corrupts the Justice Department. It is Hillary Clinton who routinely breaks the law and gets away with it. And now we have Joe Biden who's learned. He's learned from Obama that doesn't matter what you do, if you're a liberal Democrat, you will not be prosecuted. He learned from Hillary that a person in high public office can get millions and millions of dollars. And they learned from watching Donald Trump that a true outsider willing to take on the entire system could destroy their entire machine. So what you're seeing across the country is a desperate last-ditch effort by a corrupt machine to destroy their most dangerous opponent in a way which not only breaks the Constitution, destroys the rule of law, and establishes a moment of bitterness which I think will last for a generation or more. I think this is going to be a horrendous period, and we just need to understand the people who want to control America and dictate to the rest of us will break any law, lie about any topic, and manipulate the system any way they can, and that includes a lot of the elite news media.
Let me ask you, Mr. Speaker, this question, because we are now heading into the very busy political season. That means caucuses, that means primaries. We know the special counsel in the Washington, D.C. case has stated publicly he'd like that trial to begin on January 2nd. That is headed right up and butted right up against the Iowa caucuses, following the New Hampshire primary, following that South Carolina, heading into Super Tuesday. How is it possible that if Donald Trump wants to even continue his run for the nomination, how does he thread that needle and navigate, the complications that obviously would go along with that?
What his enemies don't understand is that Donald Trump's not a candidate. He is the personification of a national movement. That's what you saw when the two governors went to the racetrack the other night in Iowa, and people began booing both of them, including the very popular governor of Iowa. That's what you saw at the state fair. You weren't seeing a normal candidate. You were seeing a person who personifies for 45 or 50% of the country their hope that they can save the country from what they see as a stunningly corrupt, bad machine trying to control their lives. So let me give you an example. In 1978, when I was running and finally winning after 2 defeats, Dick Cheney was running for the first time in Wyoming. He had a heart attack. His wife helped invent cardiacs for Cheney. And so people who had heart problems all over Wyoming began campaigning for Dick because he was in a hospital recovering. I think if they get Donald Trump locked into a room, they're going to find 5, 10, 15 million Americans willing to campaign as Trump surrogates, willing to go out there and say, I'm going to work for him because I'm not going to let him be defeated by a totally corrupt person. But I'll go a step further. I really believe that the Republicans in the House should cut off Jack Smith's money. I think that his last day on the payroll should be September 30th. They should do whatever it takes to close down this entire anti-constitutional, ruthless breaking of the law in the most, I think this is so dangerous to the very survival of the Republic that it has to be stopped.
Okay, let me ask you this, Mr. Speaker, because we have really significant, serious allegations. I went through a list of lies that candidate and President Joe Biden told the American people. He lied when he said that he never once spoke to his son about his foreign business dealings or his brother or, quote, anybody for that matter. He said it as a candidate. He said it as a president. Then we're looking at, a phone call December 4th. Of 2015, and this is Joe Biden getting a phone call with Hunter and Burisma executives. Hunter, of course, by his own admission, addicted to drugs at the time. He's doing these, multi-million-dollar deals with many countries, many of which don't even like us at all. And yet he admits on Good Morning America he has no experience, but he's doing energy deals with China, with CEFC, and energy deals with Burisma. Well, then, as a result of that phone call on December 4th, 2015, that set into motion what ultimately became Joe Biden, vice president, leveraging $1 billion taxpayer dollars in Ukraine, saying you've got 6 hours to fire a prosecutor. Who was the prosecutor? A guy by the name of Victor Shokin. Who's Victor Shokin? The guy that was investigating Burisma that was paying Joe Biden's son what was ultimately millions of dollars. So, son of a bee, within 6 hours, they fired the guy. The investigation stops. Ukraine got their $1 billion in loan guarantees. And guess what? Hunter Biden continued to be enriched and continue to get paid by Burisma, again, while he is admittedly a drug addict and also a guy that admits he had no experience in energy, oil, gas, coal, or Ukraine. Can you explain that to me? Can you explain these shell corporations that Comer's committee has found? Can you explain what Hunter and the grandchildren did for these millions? Because apparently they all got paid.
Sure. Look, you're making it too complicated. They're crooks. They lie. Since they're crooks and they lie, what you just described were crooks who were lying. Now, the problem for the American people is we really can't quite believe that people in public office, I mean, Hillary's the same way. Hillary made $37 million as Secretary of State by selling 20% of America's uranium to a Russian company, which gave the Clinton Foundation $37 million. They just lie. These people are bad people doing bad things, and that's why we're headed towards the greatest constitutional crisis since the Civil War. Because at least half the country now, despite every effort of the New York Times and every effort of the Washington Post and every effort of the big networks, the country itself is beginning to come to grips with the fact that they have in the White House a corrupt family which has been willing to sell out America to China, Russia, Ukraine, Romania, Kazakhstan, and
Mr.
then lie
Speaker,
about it. They had a Secretary of State doing the same thing.
But we're not waiting for an indictment on the Bidens to be handed down tonight. Just the opposite.
And it goes on and on.
Well, and I think at least for me, I don't understand how the Republicans are sitting back when they're going after Trump. It's all about Trump. But yet they've been searching for 8 years for whatever Trump has done wrong. None of it has ever panned out. So
No.
I'm interested to see how this will go. But Steve Stanton says, 2 junior rhinos. I sent Carter a heartfelt email. And Lizzie Warren says conservatives should boycott any event in Fulton County.
Yeah, for real. All
Well,
right.
and that's the other thing. What would that achieve, though? Their taxes still go to pay Fannie Willis.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I guess for me, I'm not really sure what you would accomplish by doing that, but would love to hear your thoughts, Lizzie. And Steve Stanton, let us know what you said to Buddy Carter.
Yeah, but we've got the governor's got the power now to get rid of these bad DAs. Let's start with Fannie Willis, and then we can kind of hope we're not related because my family's a Willis.
We need to look at that.
Yeah, but we also we get rid of the one we have here. So there's a good dynamic duo for you, Brian. All right, coming up next.
We have a lot more to talk about, especially when it comes to the New York City mayor finally understanding what's actually going on in his own city.
I'll be darned. Yeah, didn't take long, did it?
Who is a kid? Well, that's a kid. And another. Look, a gaggle of them. Or is it a herd? Litter? Pride. But what about her? Tell her she's not a kid. Or him. So how do we tell who is a kid? Height? Age, maybe. But some of us have to grow up faster than others. A kid. A kid wants to make the world better. And one day, he just might. Is a kid fearless? Vulnerable? Strong? Nervous? Yes. 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 Kiwanis is 600,000 kids at heart doing all the little and big things it takes to help children around the world. Because kids need Kiwanis. All of them.
Have you ever boarded a plane and thought to yourself, I hope the pilot is a transgender refugee? Have you ever gone to the emergency room and said, I hope my medical team is incredibly diverse? Have you ever moved to a new city and said, I hope the police department hit its equity goals for the year? If your answer to these questions was no, if you just wanted the most qualified candidates for the job, then you are normal. But we have a lot of very not normal people running America these days. Left-wing politicians believe skin color or gender identity should determine who gets the job. Democrats used to care about the middle class. Now they just care about your race and your gender. And as long as Democrats stay in power, it will just keep getting worse. Stop the bigotry. Stop the insanity. Paid for by Citizens for Sanity.
Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a ride. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, The mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934 with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Come join us today at Sweet Potatoes Kitchen for some of that good Southern home cooking, like fried chicken, fish, and mouth-watering banana pudding. Say it's the best in the world, and you won't get an argument from me. Also, those vegetables are fresh and delicious. Voted Southside's best restaurant in Savannah at least 5 times, and large corporate parties are welcome. Tell them Bill Edwards sent you. Drop by and eat today. Everybody loves sweet potatoes.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard this morning on this Tuesday as we try to straighten America out here.
Yeah, there's a lot to straighten out. And Steve Stanton says, I sent Carter a heartfelt email about what is going on with Trump. Got a response that was written by Nancy Pelosi. Nobody's above the law.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Lizzie
Unless
Warren,
you're a Democrat.
Yeah. Well, and then Lizzie Warren says, ask Bud Light about the effects of boycotts. Yes, I agree with you, Lizzie, but I'm not sure how we would impact Fannie Willis if we boycotted everything in Fulton County. So I guess that's my concern. I'm not really sure the impact there and if we would be harming innocent businesses or innocent people by boycotting what Fannie Willis is doing. So I don't know. I'm going to have to think about that.
Yeah.
I can't tie the knot right now. I can't
and I still go back after all of this to see what the damage that Stacey Abrams did while she was complaining that she actually won the election here in Georgia, and she was going all over. She was raising money, $1,000 or $10,000 a plate dinners in Sacramento, California.
Interesting.
That's really close.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that she actually got the Major League Baseball to move the All-Star game out of Atlanta, and then she tried to go back and crawfish out of that deal because she realized she was hurting all these black businesses that had depended on that revenue coming in for those few days I was surprised they didn't move the World Series out of Atlanta when we were in it a couple of years ago and play that in Denver.
Well, and the other thing is it's amazing how everyone's forgotten that Stacey Abrams she said she didn't lose her election for how long? And all of a sudden Trump's the bad guy for saying, hey, questioning the election.
And then one of her campaign slogans, the last time that she ran and got her head handed to her again, was, "This is the worst state in the union." There's a bumper sticker for you.
Yeah, how would you like someone that hates your... Number one, we already have people that hate the country that are in charge, but also hate the state that you live in. Not a good combo. Not a good combo. But I will say we do have record of all of these people calling for violence, which I think is way worse than what Trump ever did.
Mm-hmm.
We have some video to play that highlights some of what I'm talking about. I preface this video by noting I am not showing you this video as some excuse for Mr. Trump's speech. This is not whataboutism. I am showing you this to make the point that all political speech must be protected.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
You got to be ready to throw a punch. You have to be ready to throw a punch.
Donald Trump, I think you need to go back and punch him in the face.
That I thought he should have punched him in the face.
Feel like punching him.
I'd like to take him behind the gym if I were in high school.
If we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
No, I wish we were in high school. I could take him behind the gym.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
Take him out now.
Okay. When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
And you push back on them, and you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Please, get up in the face of some Congress people.
People will do what they do.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
We're going to go in there, we're going to impeach the
This is just a warning to you Trumpers. Be careful. Walk lightly. And for those of you who are soldiers, make them pay.
If you had to be stuck in an elevator with either President Trump, Mike Pence, or Jeff Sessions, who would it be? Does one of us have to come out alive?
You love her.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what to say. These people have, they have tried to scare Republicans for being out in public. This is why people have such a fear of getting involved. They don't want to be labeled a Republican because they don't want people to come after them, come after their job, come after their families. I mean, Bill, we've gotten to a point in this country where even the Republicans that are in office are not sticking up for Republicans.
Yeah, so you have a guy once who defended after at a planned infanticide little demonstration they were doing, and somebody came over and berated his 12-year-old son, and he defended his son. And weeks later, at about 3 o'clock in the morning, the FBI shows up at his house with a SWAT team to arrest him. What's the message that we're sending here?
That you're a criminal if you disagree with us. Try us.
Yeah, and they're calling people who show up for school board meetings terrorists.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we have all of these sanctuary cities, speaking of which, that, said bring the immigrants in.
Yes.
It's the kind thing to do.
Here.
We should be, welcoming these people
Mm-hmm.
in, open arms.
Yeah, we're gonna throw our homeless veterans out and give you a $400 a night hotel room.
Yeah, until it actually, they have to experience the same impact that the cities on the border are experiencing. And you know what? The citizens in New York are definitely not happy. They cornered Mayor Adams yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
He blah blah blah.
I protected
blah
the city.
blah blah. No,
I'm not doing this
11
to
arrests.
get
Yeah,
big
okay.
elected. I need your help
No.
to say, fix this mess at the border, that we don't have people coming in our community.
But Mr. Mayor, not in our
Let me
neighborhood.
finish and I'm going to let you
Not
finish.
in the neighborhood.
I'm going to finish and I'm going to let you finish.
And seniors.
I'm going to finish and I'm going to hear from you. I'm going to finish and I'm going to hear from you. One at a time. I'm not going to be spoken over. I'm not going to be yelled at. If you want to engage in the conversation, I'm willing to do that.
Okay.
When you say not in any neighborhood, every neighborhood should have to go through this. I have almost 100,000 people that has been dropped in my city that the law is saying this is what you have to do, Eric. I called on the White House. I'm calling on the state. This should not be happening to New York City.
Well, he thinks New York
Gee.
City's special, so
Yeah.
he wants it to stop now.
That's right, because Kansas doesn't have a brand, but New York City has a brand.
Oh, yeah, according to Mayor
Mhm,
Adams,
yeah.
he's kind of a jerk. But I will say the people of New York are not having it. They are not okay with what's going on, and they want him to fix it. You could tell that he was getting a little frustrated because he had a lot of people coming at him at once.
Yeah, well, you voted for this guy.
Well, I think that they thought he was the better of all of them because he was a police officer. They thought that they were going to get a tough on crime person. That has not happened.
No, it hasn't. And they should have looked at his police record. It wasn't exactly sterling, shall we say.
Well, unfortunately, people don't vote that way. They vote off of the shine and glimmer that everyone protrudes when they are running for office.
That's right. All that glitters ain't gold, okay?
No. And, here in Chatham County, it's been quite interesting, Bill. Board of Elections, we had some fireworks last month. A woman was carried out. It was a terrible scene. I think that there's been a lot of backlash from the community who did not appreciate what happened. And yesterday, no real fireworks, I would say, but
really,
no. But I will say there's
nobody carried out.
No one was carried out. And the officers that were there were a little bit more seasoned than they were last time. So I think that was something that could have played a role. Don't know for sure. But yesterday we had a couple of men that stood up and were not happy with Mr. Mahoney, who is the chair of the Board of Elections here in Chatham County. And this is one of them. When he stood up yesterday, he was towards the end, and we were all surprised at what he had to say.
We talk about the Constitution. We have the right to believe that we have a free and fair election. We also have the right to be heard. And if we're not being heard, this is our only forum to come and speak. And if we are not being heard, if we do not feel like we are being heard, then what good is it? What good is it for us to be here? Does everybody know the definition of fascism? Yes. You're a fascist, man. You are a fascist. You had that lady dragged out of here just because she didn't want to hear what she wanted to say. And I'm here to tell you right now, you're a fascist. And fascism has no place in our day. And if anybody disagrees with me, fine, I'll go and live on an island. But you are a fascist. Definition. Thank you.
He held no punches yesterday, and then there was another man that spoke last, and he let Mahoney know that one of the best things that could happen to the board would be for him to resign. So still a lot of upset people with what happened last month. And, there were over a dozen people that spoke yesterday against the Dominion machines. They are not happy. They would like hand-counted paper ballots on security-grade paper, of course, and they want them counted in public at the precinct level. So a lot of people speaking about that yesterday. There was a lot of notes about the Halderman report as well as the MITRE report, which is being disputed by about 28 experts. So a lot of that detail went over with the board yesterday. And then there was one person that spoke. It was former Judge Cheatham's wife. She is his widow. She spoke in favor of the machines because she talked about how in the 1950s there were issues with paper, so moving to the machines was a good thing. So only person that spoke in favor of, but otherwise over a dozen spoke against the machines.
And something has to be done because these machines are vulnerable.
Here's the thing, Bill. Does it really matter if they are or aren't? If people don't have faith in their elections, we have the right to have that. And if we're questioning what's going on, what are you guys doing in order to fix how we feel about it?
Exactly.
I mean,
if you lose faith in your elections, then you pretty much lost the country.
Well, and I think that that's the goal, right?
Of course, yeah.
It frustrates people. People don't want to vote. There's plenty of people that have told me, I'm not voting. When the Dominion machines are gone, I'll vote. But until then, I'm not voting, which hurts us. It hurts us a lot.
It does. The thing is to do the same thing that the left is doing, and that's overwhelming the system. If you show up in droves, there's no way they can change that. When we outnumber them, keep remembering, and they're doing all this to discourage you. And the news media and the other Democrats, and I repeat myself, are trying to give you the impression that all America feels this way, that you are in the minority, and you're not. You have a responsibility. Your biggest responsibility as a citizen is to vote, whether you feel like it's not being counted or not. Because when too many people get the same attitude, then we're done. You say, well, it's just me. It's just one vote. Do you have any idea how this country has gone along on just one vote? Do you know we missed out that German missed out by one vote of being our national language?
Oh, that's a close one.
One vote prevented Andrew Johnson from being impeached as president of the United States. And by impeached, I mean removed from office. And how would the presidency have been affected after that, had that happened? They're trying to do it now, of course, at least in retrospect. And this is not working well. We need to get back to, and you need to get involved in the class. Go to your, when you have a day off or something, go to your kid's school, your grandkids' school. May I sit in on their classes? Find out what's going on. You saw some of it. That was the whole thing with the Zoom education. And the problem with that is there was a great editorial last week in the Epic Times talking about the lack of skills that we have now. You don't learn a skill by Zoom.
No.
And we have too many people now that are going into the workforce, including those who have graduated from college, some with advanced degrees, who have no idea what they're doing when they get there, when they get on a job, that you would think that they would know some of the basics. I saw this firsthand when I was working in television news. I noticed that the young kids that were coming in over the years, and I spent almost 30 years there, that they were coming in over the years that knew less and less about America, and were singing the same old platitudes, and most of them didn't know which end of a camera to hold. I said, you should know that. We shouldn't be teaching you this. We shouldn't teach you that you have to lock the camera down on the tripod.
Yeah, that should be a given.
Yeah, yeah. And when you see a $50,000 camera fall off the tripod, your heart kind of leaps in your throat, because in this market they don't buy spares.
Yeah, definitely not.
We're down to have companies that are down to their last 50 billion, and things are tough all over. Have to serve a caviar helper at their parties.
Yeah. So sad for them.
Yeah.
Lizzie Warren says more than one Board of Elections members could not even be bothered to pay attention to the speakers, buried in their cell phones. Yeah, some of them were texting or looking at their phone. I don't know.
Well, that should be standard procedure, that you put the cell phone in a bag or something before you go up in that. They've got computers, don't they? Don't they have laptops or something? Okay.
No, this is an old school board. I don't think they really have much of anything. I mean, really, the only thing that they...
Well, they shouldn't have their phones while the meeting's going on.
100%.
Those meetings how long?
I mean, it was a good hour,
okay.
Hour and 10 minutes.
You can do that. Okay, you can do without your phone for 70 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't horrible, but I will say really on the agenda was to vote for the new vice chair, which they voted in Marianne Himes for the new vice chair position since Melinda Hodge stepped down, which is interesting in itself. And then they also talked about new polling locations. But other than that, there wasn't a whole lot on the agenda. And then Steve Stanton says, pray for our state country. Absolutely. And, if you are passionate about an issue, get involved in that one issue. You don't have to get involved in everything, but we need people everywhere. And we have a lot of people that have not been accountable to the decisions that they're making in all of our lives and what they're doing. We have a lot of municipality elections coming up. Do your research when you're voting. Make sure you're voting in local elections because local matters. And, we have the school board. There's so many opportunities to get involved here.
And when we talk about the DAs and how they all, and this was the question that was going on when the people started asking, why is George Soros putting all this money into local elections and local district attorney elections especially?
And sheriffs.
So look what we have now, because all politics is local. These people run your lives. They can make a decision about your lives. You can all of a sudden find out that your neighborhood is going to be raised so they can build a Walmart or something. It's so-called for the greater good. Mm-hmm.
That's always my favorite.
Yeah. As those people have had their neighborhoods raised in order for the greater good, so they could bring in a particular retailer that they say is going to be paying more taxes than they got from the individuals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It never works out the way that you're promised, I'll tell you
No,
that
it's not.
So
yeah. Look into this. Look into these people's track record. And when they say, well, you've never been a politician, that should be a gold
sign.
Star. Yeah,
a good sign.
That's a gold star right
yes.
there. I just remember going back to the late, great Herman Cain. when they asked him, he said, well, you're running for Senate. You've never held political office. He said, you've been electing these people now for 40 or 50 years. How's that working for you? So, and when we got a real businessman in the White House who knew what he was doing, who knew how to negotiate, a person who, when New York City was trying to upgrade one of their ice skating rinks, and 5 years and it hadn't been done, he bought it, and within 3 weeks, I think he had it done. That's Donald Trump. When he looked at NAFTA and all these other treaties, said these treaties are garbage. We're renegotiating this. When he told NATO, you're not paying your fair share here. Remember, because we have a president now who's real big on fair shares, unless, of course, it's his family. But nevertheless, he said, and all of a sudden, these people in NATO started coughing up more dough. They didn't come up to the 2% like they should have. At least most of them didn't. But at least they started spending more than they were. But we were insulting our enemies. We're such an embarrassment. Well, I'd rather be an embarrassment than what we have now of going along. Just giving the Taliban another $2 billion, that's $2.5 billion or so. Did I hear we sent some money to Afghanistan? Did we just send money to Afghanistan, really? Millions of dollars to Afghanistan? This is the second anniversary, by the way, today is the second anniversary of the pullout that the president said was so remarkable.
Yeah,
sure was. It was remarkable, all right. Not what he was saying.
Well, they're censoring the Gold Star moms now. I mean, we'll have to jump into a lot of this tomorrow because that's going to do it for us today. Make sure you go check out one of our sponsors, Sweet Potatoes. They are very good. Banana pudding. Check it out.
Williams Insurance. Yeah,
yes.
they're everything is delicious. Yes. Everything is delicious.
Yes. So
even the Brussels sprouts.
Yeah, they are very good. They are very good. So go check them out today or sometime this week. And, thanks for tuning in. Remember that we have...
And donate to us.
Yeah, yes. Make a donation. You can become a sponsor. And you can also become a member, which Bill and I will also start doing some special Q&A sessions that you guys will have access to. So make sure to check that out. And thanks for tuning in. Remember to share the show. We are available on YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble, and you can also catch us on Apple and Spotify.
See you tomorrow.
Thanks.
And you can't spell Democrat without RAT.